What is going on, everybody? I'm Novo coming at you with another one. Thought we would have a look at HR.UN. Someone was asking questions about it and playing with a new indicator, so I'm trying to decipher the way things are working here. So if we go to daily, we can see this massive gap down, and we are in a stage of consolidation here within this zone. And you can see that that zone is reflected by the amount of volume that is traded, right? So if this thing does decide to gain momentum and head to the upside, we would be looking for the next channel of resistance. So um, let's do, we've got this range here. And if we find support above the $13 range, we would be looking for resistance where the previous consolidation was. So what's the story happening here? We had a run, a pullback, a run, and a topping effect. And then we have two lower highs forcing the sell off. And if we want less noise, we would go to weekly, go to like so, and we can see that there was an attempt to move to the upside, and now we are looking at technically higher lows. And there are some angles of repetition that we would like to keep in mind, right? So very similar angles of repetition, and then if we move up, we would be looking for lines like that of support. If this was to move up, odds are this um, trend line here might be resistance, and we have an intersection happening with the amount of volume that happens up here. So a run, sorry, this was the consolidation. We got um, a triangle. So let's explain what's happening with the triangle. So one of the better patterns to pay attention to is this triangle here. Whenever you see a pattern like this, we've got a sell-off and there is a accumulation, but you can see that as time goes by, the buyers are willing to pay more money. So that's a bullish sign. And the sellers, which are buyers down here buying dips, are losing strength as they keep trying to keep the price below here so that they can get in a little lower. Eventually, this gets exhausted. The pressure is so great that we have a breakout. Odds are more often than not, um, this argument breaks to the upside. And it ends up being for the traders who are looking for momentum and getting out. If we look at this height, actually, I'll just go straight up. If we look at that height, the target of the breakout is roughly the size of the back end of the triangle. You can see that. And then the pullback might be 50, 60% pullback before a continuation. So we can see that's exactly what happened here, right? We had the big dump, prospectors here accumulating. And then the smart money saw this was happening, and then they end up starting to buy breakouts and stuff, right? Then they sell off and they start accumulating again down here. So why did I draw this line here? Well, if we look left, it was support and just a little bit above the resistance previously. So it was a good test as to where this was headed. Okay. Now, as we started to top off here, you can see it's more of a rounding effect. This is losing steam, and I'm not sure why this happened, but it's an echo of the past big sell-off. On the daily, it was a gap down, and now we are accumulating again. So let's have a look at the last 3 weeks. Zoom in. So the last 3 weeks were red weeks, and we had selling, we had more selling, and we had even more selling. Okay, so the selling has increased. And if we look at the candles, let me turn off the APO so we see true colors here. Um, sorry, I got to get off of this box. There we go. There we go. Where did we go? I just went dark. What the heck just happened? Oh, I clicked on the indicator instead of the price. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to zoom in again, and we're going to look at the true colors of the candles for the last 3 weeks. So, oh, and it didn't turn off either. Off. Finally. Okay. So my point was these three candles. So here we had smart money testing, right? So um, we had a pin or a wick up high and a lower close. So that was a signal to sell. The following week was even more volume. So again, some buying happened, but they pushed the price even lower. Now, the third week, we have, I want to say it's more volume, pretty similar, but now we're starting to see that the argument is changing. We've got buyers willing to step in. It could be that smart money is exhausting reserves to sell, and they may be changing. Um, they may be changing the tone back into a buyer's market. So whenever you see lots of wicks down here, these are all people shopping for a deal. You can see that last week it was very dumpy. Um, this was a top signal, right? This is starting to look like a doji or a bottom signal where the wick is much, much greater than the candle body to the upside. And if we go to daily, we can see that argument, right? It went up, it dumped. It went up, kind of dumped, and then it went up. There is a signal on the daily saying topping and coming back down. And now we have a candle that's actually a higher high and a higher low. So for someone that is wanting to accumulate into the investment trust, these are signals that we may be heading back up. But keep in mind, what goes up does not keep going up in one shot. Um, it's possible that, by next year, maybe if this thing grinds out, we're going to see some resistance again here. And we need to build up some steam before we start pushing up to higher highs again, because after we break through this and find support here, we have the all-time high that we have to contend with. And granted that it's not as much volume up here, but there will be once we reach that as resistance. So that, I hope I didn't confuse people with this, but that's basically the way I'm reading this chart here. Now, um, if you're getting into real estate, you're getting into it for a very, very long time. I think the market is pretty hot and it needs to ease up a bit. Um, we've got houses selling at $100,000 or $200,000 over asking price, and it's ridiculous. People are starting to move to condos because they can't afford houses. As soon as you start seeing cranes up in the air building condos, you know that you're a few years away from a top. So I want to say that maybe we should be more bullish when we see pullbacks around 2024, 2026, and then we accumulate again. So I don't know if the market is just going to go sideways and wait for um, income to catch up, or if there will be a massive correction like there was in the, what was it, like the 80s? I think it was the early 80s. This is 2008, but it doesn't go back that far. I want to say it was the 80s. It was ridiculous. So, but we have an echo of the past, right? We had a massive sell off. And now we're going to accumulate. And you can see here we ran and we did a pullback. So we ran and now we're doing a pullback. Um, if this is a trend reversal, if we consolidate, usually the trend continues, which means coming back down. And if we come back down, where's the support? Right about there. And you can see all the volume contesting that this would be a support level. So if you're in a state of accumulation, always bet for a cheaper price so that you can take advantage later on. Um, and that is it. So let's zoom in so that we can see this thumbnail looking a little cleaner. And we will get rid of that and get rid of that. And we'll call it a day. Trade safe.